Hello everybody and welcome to the March 2025 update from Clydebridge Station. And I sincerely hope you enjoyed the visit that I had to Model Rail Scotland. It was nice to see some of you there and I hope you all had a good time. Now in this month's update we're going to be carrying on with the street scene. The plan is to get it done up to here in terms of the road. I'll just move the bus out the way a minute. Get it done to about here and get the pavement down as well up to around about that point, and install the street furniture. Now I don't know if I'll have time to put the road markings in. We'll see what happens as we go along. Now the street furniture I'll show you in a couple of minutes after I've done the intro, but there's quite a wide varied selection to put down, and in fact I'm also be reusing some stuff. Now if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon so that you can be notified of when new videos are released on this YouTube channel. There's at least one per calendar month. And if you've got any comments, queries or suggestions about what you're about to see in the video, then please leave them in the comments box below and I look forward to reading them. Now also, if we go back to last month's update, I forgot to actually show you a photograph of Truth's nightclub in Leven, which provided the inspiration for the structure here of the Quadrant Park nightclub. Let's put that right now. Here's a couple of photos of Truth nightclub in Leven. Yeah, and my thanks to Truth nightclub as well for their assistance in the making of last month's update as well. So that's the intro all done. That's us ready to get underway with the March update. Just a little point to you. Once I've got up to here, I'll be taking a break from the street scene for 1 month to do some work over at the station, to do more work on getting platforms 1 and 2 almost finished and the ballast getting laid down on platform 1. So for me mentally, it'll be a little break from this and I could come back to it refreshed later on. But there's plenty of work to be done before we get there. So if you're all ready, all aboard, let's go. This is the stuff that I'm going to be using this month on the layout, and there'll be a couple of things that you haven't seen here before. Concrete marker posts, for instance, they're going to be getting used, and I'll talk through each item as I go. You're familiar with the small bus shelter. I've took the old one out, I'll be putting a new one in. Modern litter bins, you'll be familiar with those. There's actually a black one on the street scene, but I'm going to just use them as the grey colour. My reasoning for that is, over by the rugby ground, which will get rebuilt in the future as well, the ones are grey, so I'm going to use them as just the grey. Pedestrian railings, again you're familiar with them. Now the issue I had with pedestrian railings before is I used a brush on silver paint. I'm going to spray them silver this time. Now these items will come from Scale Model Scenery, and you've already seen this because we've been using it on here. Another thing from Scale Model Scenery which I haven't got on here now is litter. Again, we've seen some litter in there, so you'll be familiar with those things. These you probably are familiar with because I've already used these over in the depot area, but the issue I had was I actually cut the bottoms off and put them and glued them on, and they're awfully flexible, shall we say. What I'm going to be doing this time with these is drilling a hole in at each point and then putting them in. But these need painted first, and we'll be looking at that. These are telecoms cabinets from Gauge Master. There's 3 of them, and I'll be using at least one of these on the layout, probably around about here, and the telephone box is going to get reinstated. Excuse me, back there. I had a good breakfast. And the post box will get reinstated somewhere on the lay-by. That's the stuff that I'm using. Now, the PD Marsh model supplied the lamp post. I took one out yesterday before I filmed this to actually have a look at it and to get some measurements for a drill bit. Do you think I could find that one? Of course not. But I've got 14 anyway. I won't need that many here on the street scene. The reason for going for them is, if you look here at that one's just held on like that, but actually really should be further back. And here's the issue where I had them on the layout before. I didn't drill them in, and you could see where one had come out and it's getting loose there. So these will be disposed of and we'll get new ones, but they're going to be done to the same colour. They'll be painted grey with an aerosol, and then the top bit's painted white. The first thing I'm going to do therefore is to actually start drilling the holes to put the lamp posts in. I'll have to get a drill bit to do that, and the drill bit is going to be very small, and it's a wood drill bit that'll allow me to go down and drill that in. I can do that while I've got these getting sprayed and painted. And then it'll be the pedestrian railings for this corner. Just put that there for a minute. There'll be one there, and I'll put another one to go round the bend there. Now I'm quite good at sending people round the bend, so I should have no problems doing this. These are actually flexible, by the way, and that's what you get in the kit. So I'll get them sprayed and work out how many I need. Now for this section here, once I've got the lamp posts in, there'll be a bit of railing there, and then it'll come round the bend, and it'll probably go up to just the end of the nightclub, or to the end of the lay-by. The reason for that obviously is that that's a nightclub. Former cinema would have been busy. You don't want people coming right out onto the road, especially in the evenings. So that's what my plan is. My first job is to concentrate on this bit here, and I'll get a couple of these lamp posts sprayed. They'll be given the 2 coats, and that'll allow me a chance to get other things sorted out. The lamp posts are currently drying, and I've got the shed door open and got the light out, but I'll show you what my next step is. I've used 2 of the humans from the street scene. They'll be getting reapplied later on, and I'll be getting more people, I think, to go on this street scene, because it should get a little bit busier than what it is. Anyway, that's one of the scale model scenery railings there. The telephone box will go behind it, and this one here will go to the bend, and I'm thinking that the cabinet might go here for the telecommunications. I won't put it on this side because obviously you've got the nightclub there, although what I'll do is I'll speak to British Telecom and see what they think of it. I'll give them a tweet and ask for what they think, if it's better to be here or on the other side, because you want to get it to look right. Obviously these won't get applied down until the lamp posts are in place. Now it gives me a little chance as well to have a little gripe at scale model scenery with a big smile on my face, because with pedestrian railings with slight gap, 16 large, 5 small. Yes, there's 5 small, but there's 20 large ones. Scale model scenery, you need to actually update your packaging you're actually giving us more than what you're saying. Don't cut the number of railings in there. Update your packaging. It'll be a lot easier. Whilst I'm also on the topic of the lamps, I must make a confession that when I was actually taking these out of the packet, I actually broke one. So at the moment I've only got 13 until I can find that missing one, but I can get more if I need to. These will now be sprayed silver on both sides, and then they'll be left to dry. I'll take these people off the now. I'll put them just down here and up here, because there's an assortment of people. And I'm actually looking at the telecommunications spot, because I could also put one along by the bank, and that phone box will come off the now. They'll be applied later on, because I'm going to put the lamp post here, and I'm thinking one here and then one down here. It will mean we haven't to move the buildings out temporarily, but once they're back in place, the buildings can go back in place, the railings can go in, and then we can start to get on with the rest of the street furniture. Off camera, I've also got another one of these grey boards drying. I've got a problem with this one though. I didn't weigh it down properly. I've tried using Yoo-Hoo glue and weighing it down that way, and I think I'm going to put a paint tin on that. I'll add a maybe laser cut kit glue and a paint tin on that to weigh it down properly. It'll probably mean me having to repaint this bit here, but that's not a big issue. Paint tin's weighing that down, so I hope it sticks. If it doesn't, I'll just have to add more glue and weigh it down again, and if there is a wee bit of a stain left, it's easy to go and paint over. The lamp posts are now painted grey, but I've painted the light bits of them, which will be these bits, white. So they'll take a long while to dry. These are dry, however. These are the railings. Obviously they can't go into place until I've got the lamps down. I don't know how well you can see that, but there you go. With a pen, I've roughly marked out the spots where I would like to put the lamp post. I've got 3 so far. There we go, 1, 2, 3. The buildings will have to come up to allow me to actually do the drilling, and then they'll be put back into place, and then the lamp posts will go into place. And then after that I can start to build up each part. Part of that as well is actually going to involve this. I didn't show you this earlier, but this is the scale model scenery Sierra 001, and it's popular British street names. Now this kit comes with various street names in various styles which you can cut out, and it's also got little posts that you can stick them onto as well. So this street here is currently called Westgate Road, but I'm going to change that and I'm going to call it St John's Road, because there's actually a few St John's Roads there. There's at least 4 of them. This street going up here, I'll give that the name Park Avenue. Those of you who are old enough to remember the Oracle Teletext service, it used to provide the teletext service onto ITV and Channel 4, might remember that Oracle had a soap opera called Park Avenue. I'm really showing my age there. Then this piece here, I'm going to call that Alexander Road, because we've got the bus depot here, or at least once I've got this all rebuilt, I'll get the bus depot completely rebuilt. It'll be much better looking, because Kelvin Central Bus's predecessor, Central Scottish, and before that SMT, were big buyers of Alexander bodied buses, being part of the Scottish Bus Group. And in fact KCB went on to buy Alexander bodied buses for a little bit as well. So that's actually why I've done that. That's what. Obviously I can't apply these yet until I've got the street lamp posts down, and I can't do anything else until I've got the lamp posts down. So they'll be getting drilled in one at a time. Once I've got the first 3 in, I can start to build up this corner here and then work my way along. And there we go, that's the first one into place. The other two are drying, and what I'm going to do with the rest of them, and this includes the two that's drying at the moment, the dark grey that I've sprayed them with is dry already, but it's the painted bit here, I've done it by hand. For the rest of them, I'll mask up the dark grey, and I'll spray the area white. It'll be difficult to mask up, but I think it'll look a lot better. I've drilled the holes for this one here, and I've just test fitted that, and there's one here, it needs a little bit more drilling down, but you can see there, they slot in very well. Now I must confess I managed to break another one of these, so I think PD Marsh models are going to get another order from me in the near future for some more. However, I'm only going to be marking out and drilling the holes as I go along, because obviously I need to work out where things are going to be first of all. So I'll take that one out, but you can see there that slots in well. They're just slotted in, they're not getting glued in. I've got a couple of 2mm wood drill bits from B&Q down in Kirkcaldy. Spoke to one of the staff there, very helpful he was, and he suggested a 2mm drill bit. So it just slots in there, quite tight enough. And as I say, they won't be glued in case I need to take them out in the future, so I'll just put that one back there. Now I also spoke to OpenReach that runs the telephone network, and what they suggested was I was going to put the cabinet either here or here. They suggested putting it further back, and another person also suggested that and said also you'll need a 2-lid manhole there as part of it. So that's going to sit there now, the telephone communications box, the junction box. But the telephone box itself will still sit here, and we'll get the guardrails round here, and I'll also be getting some scale model scenery litter out. The upshot of it is, of course, is that the lamp post that will go in here, I can then put that in and then start building this area. This lamp post in, and I can already get on, and the holes are drilled, so it allows us to start some progress. Now we have the corner now almost complete. I need to put the street name on here. The kit that comes from Scale Model Scenery with the street names, one thing I'm not happy about is that it comes with metal poles, and I had difficulty in getting them down and getting everything glued. I did have to use laser cut kit glue, but as you can see here, I took advice from OpenReach and another person on Twitter. So that's the junction box just in there. I don't know how well the camera picks that up. There we go. And the telephone box with a couple of bits of litter there. And I'll put a bit of litter there, and there's a little bit that was just visible in the bin. What I'm doing now is actually building up another bin. 4 sides. This is a supporting piece in the centre, bottom and top. And that is how they will look like once you're finished. I'll put the bin here, and then I'll get more fencing along here, more railings to complete that section there. I'm only going up to here with it because people will be wanting to cross the road to get the bus, and people will also be wanting to, how can I put it, be protected from traffic coming out the nightclub at night time. I use silver paint that I got from B&M on them, 1 coat on each side, and I wore goggles and a mask when I was using the paint, so should you. Well, as we go along the street scene, you can see that obviously I've got one wee problem here, but there's not much I can do about that now. But if I move the bus back, we have a bus stop sign in place, and we've got the yellow lines going along, and I've come up to here and I've stopped. Now the original plan was to continue along, but if you look here, The nightclub was a bit closer to the junction than what the previous building was, and it's meant that had the Pickwick Books shop been there, it was going to be well out for the junction. So I've come up with an idea. The C. Plester and Co. Accounts building, I've moved from there into here. The busker, who I'm going to call Jackson after a singer-songwriter I know, is going to sit there. This junction will move along a bit. So you can see it starts there and probably coming up to, if I put the AA van, I think it's going to be about along that bit that the pavement's going to start. This is going to change. These three buildings will stay the same. It's going to be here that there's going to be a change. I'm going to take this out. You can see that is knackered. That is not a good building at all. If I try and take this off, it just, you can see it's coming loose. It's, to be quite honest with you, it's scrap. It's not really a good design. It certainly doesn't fit on my layout, so that is scrap. It can be disposed of. So what's going to go in the gap here? Well, something I've not seen modelled before on a layout. How about a House of Fraser store? At the time period that my layout set in, 1988 to 91, House of Fraser stores were still actually trading, with the exception of the one at the Metro Centre, under their own individual or regional names. For instance, here in Scotland, by that period, it was just Arnott's or Fraser's. There was one exception, that was Dumfries, where it was called Binns. Binns used to have a store in Edinburgh. Binns are actually, the name's no longer in use. Dumfries was the last Binns store in Scotland, closed 1990. Edinburgh was a previous one, rebranded in the 1960s. But anyway, I would talk about a brief history of the names at House of Fraser later on, probably in another video. But that's what's going to go here, a House of Fraser store. It'll have House of Fraser on the top bit, but in small lettering. Probably the same lettering as what I've used on the Quadrant Park nightclub, but for the area above the entrance, between the ground and first floor, it'll have an individual name. However, it won't actually be Arnott's or Fraser's, it's going to be something else. I'll just keep you in suspense on that one. But it's a name that I've chosen, it's very personal to me, and concerns somebody, some people who are very friendly with me, and still are, and got on very well and were very helpful to my parents. But that's for another time. But that's where it'll sit. It'll sit in here. To do all this, however, what I'm going to do is, I'm now going to work from this end along to here. My reason for that is, if I get these buildings into place first and get the pavement shape correct, I can then work out the width of the road to do this last bit here where the House of Fraser store and these three units will sit on. And basically what will happen is these will move around. I don't know what the hell that was, but these will move about a bit. And probably something to about there. And that's the sort of footprint I'm going to have for House of Fraser. And it'll sit on there, probably coming to about here. And the buildings here will stay as they are. The idea basically is that by putting in a newer build here, with 3 floors and there'll be flat roof, it'll be something unique, and as I say, it's something that's not modelled on a layout before, certainly that I've been aware of. So this will be coming up first, and I'll get this whole area done, and then these buildings will be able to go back in once that area is done. I won't have enough modelling card to be able to do the rest of the street scene right the way through, so that's going to be for the next update. I had originally planned to do take a break from this and do some work on the layout, and that'll probably be taking place, but I can certainly get things planned out. But that's what I'm going to do. Start from here and work my way back, see how far I can get with the materials I've got, then get more ordered for a future update. Now, it's going to take a few days to get everything stripped off from here and get that all ready, and then get the road surface down. So we will take a break from this now, and we'll come back to it in a wee bit, but there's a new arrival on the layout. It's another locomotive. Let's talk about it and its subclass. There we are, folks, the newest locomotive on the Clydebridge station fleet, and it's my 5th Class 37. And this one is 37422, carrying Regional Railways livery, and it carries the name Robert F. Fairley, Locomotive Engineer. Now, a couple of things to mention to you just before we go any further is that this locomotive was a purchase from eBay. It was produced exclusively for somebody, but I can't remember who it was, so if any of you do happen to know who it was produced for, Rails of Sheffield rings a bell, but I could be wrong there. But if you do know, please put it in the comments box below. The locomotive in this condition dates it from round about 1993 onwards, and it would have been working on the North Wales coast in this livery, and the name is actually from 47645, which was written off after fire damage in 1989. But let's first of all talk about the actual 37/4 subclass. In 1985, British Rail decided to embark on a general refurbishment of its Class 37 fleet, and certainly a large number of them were given general refurbishments as part of their overhaul, which led to 4 brand new subclasses being created. One of those, the 37/9 subclass, was only for locomotives that were getting used as engine test beds for future brand new locomotives, and this was the engines by GEC and Merlees, and there were only 6 of those. But the refurbishment programme began in 1985 at Crewe Works, when a need was identified for some Class 37s to be equipped with electric train supply to be able to provide train lighting, heating and air conditioning. Electric train heating, as it were. This was for peripheral lines that larger locos such as the Class 47 were not permitted on at the time. And these were the Far North and Kyle lines, the West Highland line and the Cambrian coastline to Aberystwyth or Porthevy. 37422 was one of these conversions, and indeed there were 31 of them, and they all came from the second series, which means that they had the central head code panel. The first series of Class 37s had the 2 split head code boxes with connecting doors in the middle. Now, some of those refurbished as Class 37s 5s and 37/7s, which had the central head code panel, would be exactly like this, but the ones that had the split head code boxes had the boxes removed, sealed beam lights put in and the nose end doors plated over. But as I say, all the 37/4s, all 31 of them came from the second series. They were allocated to 3 depots in 4 batches. 37401213 and 374222 were allocated to Glasgow Eastfield Depot for use on the West Highland line. They were also given in 1988 radio electronic token block, which is one of the reasons why you see the aerials on the nose, radio signalling as it were. And indeed, once all the 37/4s for Eastfield were on stream, these were the only 37s that would be seen on the West Highland line. 37414221 were allocated to Inverness. 37426031 were allocated to Cardiff Canton for use on the aforementioned Cambrian coastline to Aberystwyth or Pwllheli. They were also used on the Cardiff to Bristol route as well. The work was very extensive on the refurbishment of these locomotives, and literally only the shell of the locomotive was actually used, and there were some differences. Revised nose end grills, larger fire pools were installed, the boilers were removed, and extra fuel tanks were put in, and an AC alternator was put in to assist with the introduction of the electric train supply. These locomotives would be used on intercity, regional railways, freight, parcels and civil engineering workings. The ETS supply was done by a socket and a jumper cable on each of the cab ends, but they were restricted to the same speed as had been all the other class 37/0s until their speed was restricted to 75 miles per hour. All 31 of them were delivered in the large logo blue livery, which is sometimes referred to as more yellow. The first signs of livery changes for this fleet came in 1988 at Eastfield Depot. 37423, which is also on the layout, was repainted at Eastfield Depot into the then new Rail Freight triple grey livery, but without any subsector symbols. Later that year, it was named at the Alcan Works at Fort William, Sir Murray Morrison, and it had the Rail Freight metal subsector symbols applied. Of course, this did not mean it was only used on rail freight trains. It did haul passenger trains as well. Around about the same time, 37401 Mary Queen of Scots was repainted into unbranded intercity livery, with the numbers at the base of the cab side in black. Although it was painted in intercity livery, I've seen a couple of photos of it hauling freight trains as well. The next part of the story really concerns this locomotive and some others at Eastfield on the West Highland line, because on the 23rd of January 1989, the ScotRail internal workings on the West Highland line from Glasgow Queen Street to Oban, Fort William and Mallaig went from Class 37/4 loco hauled operation to Class 156 super sprinter operation. This also saw an increased frequency with 4 trains each way a day rather than 3 between Fort William or Oban and Glasgow Queen Street. The Fort William to Mallaig service remaining at 4 trains a day. Upon their introduction, 6 37/4s were declared surplus at Eastfield. The remaining 11 were all transferred to the rail freight sector, and they were limited to rail freight and departmental trains, but also hauling the overnight sleeper between London Euston to Fort William, but only between Mossend and Fort William, and any intercity special charters. The train heating would of course be useful for that. Of the 6 that were made surplus at Eastfield, 37407 was transferred on the 25th of January to Cardiff Canton Depot, and the following day 37408 and this locomotive 37422 also moved down to Cardiff Canton. They were needed by regional railways because the Class 155 super sprinters had been taken off for modifications after door faults, and to allow for rolling stock to be temporarily replaced. These locos would provide work between Cardiff and the northwest of England to either Manchester or Liverpool Line Street, and they would do so for over a year. 37412 was moved to Lera Depot to work on China clay trains, and it lost its name at that time as well, and it would be later joined by 37414, which was sent down after super sprinters took over the Far North and Kyle line. 37411 and 37425 were transferred to Tinsley for use on the FABT pool, working Buxton limestone trains, but they would be used in the Heart of Wales line at weekends, where the radio signalling equipment was changed to the local wave band. 37422, as you see here, later gained the construction subsector livery, and it also would later gain its name upon painting into Regional Railways livery. The locomotive itself in that scheme is slightly out with the period that the layout set in, but the livery is within the period that the layout set in, so it is a good fit on the layout. Its duties will be to work there twice a day, each way, Clydebridge to Fort William ScotRail service, although it will be using Regional Railways coaches, and it will also, if need be, work in intercity charters that would go up to the West Highland line. Now, the locomotive has been factory weathered, and it's not been over the top. Now, I will say that right now, it's not over the top. And I'll just show you as well that you can see the detailing on the front there with the ETS jumper and the ETS socket. Headlights were fitted, of course, at the same time. The bogies are all well presented. Now, the only thing to mention to you about this is that when Jim down at Scooney Hobbies was putting the decoder in this, two of the screws he noticed happened to have which were in the middle of the locomotive, happened to have their heads almost chewed, so it's only got 4 screws in it at the moment. So I've got to be very careful if I'm lifting it, by lifting it at the fuel tanks and not the body, otherwise we'll have a bit of a wonky 37. Numbering is absolutely accurate. There's I don't know how the camera picks it up, but they've got the larger fire pools and the data panel there. And I say the weathering is not over the top at all. H nameplates are supplied with this locomotive. They've not been fitted yet, but they will be getting fitted. Now, because I've got so much stuff on the track at the moment for dealing with the rebuild of the street scene, it won't be possible for me right now anyway to get this locomotive hauling some stock, but later in the year, as the videos start to come on stream again and we do work elsewhere, I will be able to start putting this in every now and then. This is the second Class 37 on the layout to carry a passenger livery, 37401, of course carrying the unbranded intercity livery. And I must just once again thank Jim down at Scooney Hobbies who fitted the decoder to that locomotive. There we go, we'll just send that away. Now, as already mentioned, 47645 was the previous carrier of the name Robert F. Fairley, locomotive engineer. It suffered terminal fire damage in 1989, I think it was at Oxford. However, a cab from 47645 was actually put on another locomotive, which I've got on my fleet too, 47522. It suffered collision damage at Dover, and they made one from 2, and as it was only collision damage on 47522, it was easier to take a cab off 47645 and put it on 47522. Well, Robert F. Fairley, I'm sure, would be very proud of the locomotives that have come on long since his passing. He actually was the inventor of double-ended steam locomotives that you can still see on the Ffestiniog Railway in northwest Wales. And in fact, 47645 received its name at Blaenau Ffestiniog. So that's your 37422 in Regional Railways livery. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to get back onto the street scene and we're going to take a look at what we've still got to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little potted history of 37422 and the Class 37/4 subclass. Got back now to the street scene and we carry on here. This has been weighed down, and you'll also notice that some offcuts from other parts have been kept, and I've put them onto here. These parts are going to be covered by a new pavement. Now, here's a little thing I'm going to do. When I was removing the old pavements, I've managed to salvage some bits, and these bits will actually sit underneath the Headingley Insurance's building. What will then have to happen, though, if I show you here, is these will actually be on the other end. But the extra pieces that you see coming across here, they're going to be covered in tarmac. I've got some tarmac sheets. They were actually offcuts from when I built platforms 1 and 2 at the station. The idea is that I'll be using tarmac sheets when I come to eventually rebuild the concourse, but for the moment one of them will be ideal to cover this over, and then it'll allow me to also put it underneath the bank building, and I could then start to work out the shape of the road. That was weighed down. This is going to get glued down and weighed down as well. This will be to form the junction, and I've got a piece that's currently, just going to move that scrap piece of paper there, it's currently getting painted to go into here. That'll leave just a small section here to be done. What it won't allow me to do is obviously get the whole street scene completed right now. I've got to get more materials ordered. Some of them are on order, in fact. But I'll get these first 4 pieces put down, and just to show you how far that'll go. Don't want it to go too far, but I think something like that. And the NatWest Bank building will sit on the corner, something like that. So they'll then have the pavement going round. I can't position that NatWest Bank building properly though until I've actually got this bit done, these first 4 weighed down. The next 2 pieces that will go down will be part of the pavement, but I can't actually do the whole pavement yet until I've got this next piece of surface down. It's like a bit of a jigsaw, and I can't do the next one bit until a previous bit is fully completed, so it's not straightforward. This will, as I say, this will get weighed down out. This is a corner piece I cut, and I was meant to put it in here, but you see I cut it the wrong way. No harm done, I'll do for here. And as I say, once that's weighed down, I'll be able to work out where I need the road markings to go in the spacings and start to build the pavement in. As I say, I won't be able to get it all done until I get more resources in. Well, that's this street now starting to come together. I'm just going to pick up the W.H. Smith truck and I'll show you a wee thing that's going to happen here. There's going to have to be a tight turn here, and if I get the NatWest Banks over, incidentally one of the signs fell off, but that's an easy fix. I'll just put that on about there. Maybe just move that up a little bit. There we go. Obviously that'll be level once the next section of road surface is on. There's going to have to be a cutaway here so that it can go round, so that the traffic can get round no problem. Now the way that I'm looking at doing it is getting a piece of paper and measuring where the bank is and drawn round the bank. I'll then measure the distance from the bank edge to the road edge, and I'll start to cut, shape it round a bit, so that way the pavement will get a bit narrower here. That'll then allow me to work out the actual angle that needs to be done here, so that we can get the correct shape of the road edging around here. Once that's then done, I'll be able to get the pavement put on here and onto here with the road surface done. That'll then wrap it up for this video, because the next video will be devoted just to building the department store, and we'll put in the street furniture after that, because I could then work out where things are going to go. Obviously here I've made a little mark for where I want a lamp post to go, and there'll probably be another one here. And there's other things that I've got to go back in here too, telephones and kiosk and that, and the road markings, as I say, but they'll, with the exception of the road markings here to signify the locations of the pavements, everything else will have to be done in the May update, because I've obviously got the department store to try and build, and that's going to take its own video up. The memorial will go right there. I'm struggling to get other things to stick to now, so yeah, but so just to clarify, draw around that, then draw it, measure the distance from here to here, draw, it'll have to be a sharp turn round there, put in the double yellow lines there, and work out with the size of the pavement where things are going to be, work out the road distance, and then that'll give us a good idea of where the pavements will be and the road markings will be, and that'll complete that bit here. Well, at long last, that's all the pavement laid. Admittedly, you can just see a wee bits of joins there. However, it is a lot better than what it was previously, where I'd folded the joins over and you could see the gaps. So it's a much more, shall we say, glossy product. This bit here is not being covered over because that'll be part of the floor of the department store. There are no plans to do the street furniture at the moment, because I do need to build a department store. So the street furniture application, that'll include the road markings. You'll see that in the May update. But I'm quite happy with how that is. Obviously a little bit of a gap is just there. I can't do anything about that now. But the road still does look bare, but once the road markings are in and more people are in, which is like what you can see up there, it will look a lot better. I've got new bus shelters to make as well, and pedestrian railings to put in, and other bits of street furniture. But as I say, that'll all come in the May update. Now, just before we wrap up this month's programme, some shout outs. Now to a couple of shout outs of other layouts of people that may be of interest to you. And we'll start off this month with a couple of YouTubers that do model railways. Woodhill Park, I think that's his name, is on YouTube. He's set in the same era as mine. He's been doing work on a road bridge recently. So that's Woodhill. You'll find him here on YouTube. You'll also find here on YouTube A very, very popular layout indeed, Barnabas Junction, run by Jason Griffiths. That's on YouTube and it's on Facebook as well. He likes his direct rail services, so if you're into DRS, that's a good layout for you to have a check out with. And another layout that's set more in the 60s is run by John JMC, and he does regular live Sunday night shows on YouTube. John JMC. His layout's called Westmoreland, so if you check him out here on YouTube as well. A couple of non-railway layouts now for you. If you check out the on Instagram, No Rest for the Spacemen, it's a band down in England, No Rest for the Spacemen. If you give them a check out. On Twitter, if you could give a check out to a gentleman called Sam Ostler, singer and piano player. You'll also find him on Instagram as Sam Ostler Music. He very rarely wears jeans, but I'm trying to persuade him to buy some Wrangler jeans, which is also, you can just see the advert there, as this is a proud partner of Wrangler, this layout. So if you put in wrangler.com, it'll take you to the website in your territory. Now, just before we do finish this month's update, during the middle of February, we were very sorry to hear of the death of Dr. Les Nixon, a renowned railway photographer. He had been doing articles and taking photographs of trains for many, many years. And when Motive Power Monthly magazine first started in January 1986 by Ian Allen as a rebrand and refresh and upgrade of Modern Railways pictorial, Les Nixon put a monthly article in for its first year giving you tips on railway photography. He visited numerous locations over the years, from Burnt Island to Bristol, from Glasgow to Gloucester, from Cardiff to Cirencester, from Pwllheli to Preston, and he was very well renowned for the quality of his work, and our condolences go out to his family and friends. With the pavements laid, it's still not ready yet to take on road markings and lampposts and other street furniture, because next month this gap is getting filled up. On screen now is a photo of the Binns department store in Dumfries in 1977. Binns was owned by House of Fraser. Now the store's closed in 1990, that branch of Binns. But it will live on my layout because I'm going to be building a frontage in low relief House of Fraser department store, and it's going to be based on Binns in Dumfries, and various bits are already on order for it, and it'll be going in that gap that you see there. So that's going to be the work that's getting undertaken next month. On screen shortly will be a link to another video from this YouTube channel, a button in the middle inviting you to subscribe, which I very much hope you can do because that supports the channel. And there'll be another link on the right hand side. And as I say, if you subscribe, it supports the channel. I would appreciate that very much. I know some people prefer to support the channel by asking you to become Patreons and donate as much as you can every month, but get no extra reward except to get a video a day earlier than non-members. I'm a free-to-air bloke, so the way you can support Clydebridge Station on YouTube is to subscribe to it. So that's it for this month's update. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen this month, including the arrival of a new Class 37, and I look forward to your company next time. Whatever you're doing, please do take care of yourselves, won't you? And enjoy your layouts, and we'll see you soon. Cheerio!